Hey there, Fight here with the video solution, if you like, to our little test beforehand. And so I've got tons of results, thank you very much. I had a look at them, and there were some quite surprising results in there. So I'll show you what we found. And it was this. There was a lot of high D plus I. So if you're going to even out, lots of people had high D and I, like myself. Strong here and not so strong down here. Then a lot of high C plus S, which is, oh, not this guy, down here. So lots of C plus S, but very low D plus I. Then we had quite a few people had very low I, and then the rest was out even, and then a lot of people who had low D, and the rest was even. So not that dude again. There you go. So either this quadrant was, fairly low and this was even, or this quadrant was low and this was even. What I didn't find was that any of these was low and the rest high. So it was quite interesting. And then finally we had a few people who had all even. I'm not going to say much on the all evens because, well, perfect. You've got the perfect lot. You can pretty much choose anything you like, and more or less that indicates you have the flexibility to adapt to any situation as it arises. So you can go from being the product innovator or creator to someone who then systematizes that whole thing and maybe creates a franchise out of it, to the person who does the joint venture deals, to the person who then gets intellectual rights and monetizes them in other ways, who does the marketing, all these kind of things. The person who does research, or everything. And that would be the all-even person. So let's have a look at the high D plus I, the high C plus S, low I, and low D. So let's first look at the high D plus I, these guys up here. So high values up here, meaning they're generally outgoing people. You like working, kind of extroverted. You like being active out there. You don't mind if people look at you. You might even thrive when people look at you and give you, official recognition or praise, that kind of thing, as opposed to introverts who are a bit more down here. By the way, very, very important with all of this, a lot of people, when they look at this, they confuse being shy with being introverted. Introverted down here has nothing to do with shyness, although it sometimes goes hand in hand. Introverted people are people who enjoy small groups of people. For example, if you have a dinner party, you prefer inviting 2 more people and then having a really in-depth discussion, as opposed to people who are up here, extremely extroverted people like bathing in a big party, talking to everyone, not necessarily in depth with everyone, but having lots and lots of contacts. These would be people who are very active on Facebook. These down here go, what the hell is Facebook? So high D plus I, in general, when you've got high values up there, I'll differentiate it a little bit in a second, you're better at creating systems, or your strengths are creating systems, better products, or identities. And as you can see, systems would be at the high D, better product would be somewhere in between the two, and identities would be over here. So identity is, if you're the star of the show, it's all about you. Over here, it's more about the thing, which would be the system. If you're more high D, then do find yourself someone who's a mix of these two to help you create a great product, and then you go out and create a system and or a franchise out of it. And if you're more on the I side, well, you find a high D to help you systematize the whole thing as someone who takes the whole thing, automates the sales, markets for you, etc., etc. And if you're right in the middle, then you find someone to take your product and goes out and does systematize it. So if, for example, you found a great way of making a burger, the moment you've invented the burger, the perfect burger, your interest of perfecting that system so it can be done by a monkey is probably not that high. And that's why you find someone over here, more D-oriented, systematizing-oriented, who likes the challenge of creating that perfect system that even a brainless monkey can do it. Alrighty. And by the way, with all of these, if you're extremely high in one end, you always should look out for the people to complement you. And I'll give you a couple of examples in a second. To do all the other jobs that need to be done, like the research, you need someone meticulous for the research, well, find someone with a high C. You need someone to do joint venture deal for you, find someone with a high S. So, a couple of tips here. overall, if you're high D&I, focus on product creation, whether it's a system, a better product, or a better identity. That's where your strength is. That's what you should be doing. Leave the JV dealing, brokering, marketing to other people. Okay, that's probably typically what happens is you set up a new product, you have a great idea, you get started, you put it all together or half together, and you go, right, the problem is kind of solved now. And then you get another idea to do something else. Another one would be if you go in, for example, do keyword research. You might jump in and go, right, I'll just research one keyword, I'll write an article about it. And before you know it, you get totally sidetracked because you've got a gazillion other keywords and you have all these ideas coming up. Hey, I could do this and this and this. And before you know it, you've reserved another 100 domains or so. So that's why it's great to sit down once for all, do the research once, get a high D person to create the system for you, unless yourself a high D, and then get other people with a high S or high C, for example, people who like working through systems steadily, to do the actual implementation. And if you look at, without generalizing too much, the culture in Asia. In general, there are a lot of people who are very good at working through systems, which is why, for example, you can find a lot of great outsourcers in the Philippines, although they do tend to get swamped by typhoons and eaten by tigers. But in general, in the culture, there is more of a sense of this is what I do, this is the system, I work through it. So that's why at the moment that works quite well. And I'm sure at some point, once they've figured out all the systems in the world, they're going to completely trounce us. There you go. Most importantly, don't do the tedious work yourself. Right? Setting up 100 websites will kill you. It literally will. Yeah. There is nothing as laborious and boring as doing the same job over and over again. If that's you, do not pick a system, do not pick a product that requires you to do the same thing over and over again. You love research, or starting new things, creating an outline for something. Do it and then outsource. Find other people to do the donkey work, the sort of repetitive stuff for you, so you can focus on leveraging your strengths, which is coming up with great ideas where other people have absolutely no idea. They just go, how the heck did you come up with this? Well, it's because you are great at looking at problems, finding solutions, and then doing a rough outline out of those, and then move forward. To give you an example, when I was at Siemens, we're doing research in brain imaging. I think I got a couple of patents. You can actually Google them in brain imaging and lung imaging, and I'm totally in this area, high D and high I, with a slight bias towards I. So very, very creative, coming up with new ideas, and not just sort of rubbish ideas, but really good stuff comes out of people who are up here, because we constantly soak up new information, assimilate it, reform it, reshape it in our heads, and we come up with new ideas that really can go and help people solve big problems. So anyway, I remember sitting in a meeting, and it was boring, as most corporate meetings are, and suddenly my brain just fired off, and I had a fantastic idea, and I just sort of raised my hand and said one sentence to one of the professors who was in the room, and he said, "Okay, everybody out. Fine, we need to sit down." And it was a really fantastic idea with a really, really good patent out of it. But then it was time to implement this thing and test it, etc. And I had absolutely no interest in it. And that is typical for high D plus I. My colleagues were going, "But fine, don't you want to know how it works out and how it works in practice?" No, the work is done. Right? I've had the great idea. So I just want to drive home the message. If you've been banging the head against the wall and going, "Why the heck can't I set up these 100 sites?" We all have this dream of the passive residual income, 100 websites that all work on autopilot. Wouldn't that be great? And reality is, if you are high D plus I, that is not going to work for you if you do it yourself. This is one of those situations where you have to absolutely outsource. Okay? I keep hearing, "Well, I don't have the money to outsource." Trust me, you've bought so many WSOs, you've bought so many little courses. If necessary, stop drinking coffee on the way to work. Something along those lines. Save up a bit of money. An outsource in the Philippines will cost you $2.50 an hour, $2 sometimes, and they can do the donkey work for you. You can go on Fiverr and have I'm using someone on Fiverr to do fantastic transcription work for videos, and she charges $5 for a quarter of an hour of transcription work. Well, a quarter of an hour of transcription is a good hour, an hour to 2 hours of her time for $5, for crying out loud. If I had to do it myself, it would absolutely kill me. So top tip, whatever it is you're doing, focus on the where you leverage, where you create value is creating new products, and then outsourcing as quickly as you can. Come up with an outline, speak into the camera, and have, if you're high eye, you shouldn't have any problem speaking into the camera, and have someone else transcribe the thing and create a nice report out of it. You may know of Trey Smith. If you don't know Trey Smith, you may have heard of Frank Kern. They're sort of big names in the internet marketing industry. And Trey Smith and Frank Kern, they go out and do exactly this thing. They're very good at coming up with ideas. And all they do is they speak into a camera and then have someone else create a nice report. And then they sell it for a lot of money. And that's what you need to focus on when you're high D+I. The other thing is, when you see these things, hey, you can be an expert in 4 hours and create killer products quickly. Yes, you absolutely can. You can become an expert because you're fantastic at assimilating information, making the connections, and creating killer products. I just want to warn you, don't go out and create that killer product which is a 9-hour video course with the MP3s and the transcriptions, etc., etc. I've been there myself, okay? I created a course and I procrastinated for months on finishing this. That's the key thing, finishing, okay? I should write here in giant letters, finishing is a problem. That's where you need to pay attention. So you basically need to outsource all the finishing work to other people. So sit down, create a business plan of whatever it is you want to do, and then allocate a budget for the finishing part. That's the key thing. Actually, I'm going to have to change the slides here. I'm going to do that now. Alrighty, I've created a new slide just for you. High D and high I people. This is you. Your moment of value creation is coming up with the idea and the outline. Alrighty, that's all you need to do. The idea and the outline. Forget about polishing. No polishing for you. You must allocate resources to finishing or having it finished by other people. Actually, I'm going to go back and say the polishing. Alrighty, polishing is where your weakness is, and that's what other people are going to do for you. Don't go out building big empires of anything. It's not going to work for you. You want to build authority sites, which, if you're high I, is all about you. You want to create, authoritative systems around, anything you can leverage, like a new product idea. Go and build a system around it, or if you're in the middle, just come up with the idea and get other people to promote it for you. Alrighty. Next point then is a high S plus high C. Now, that is down here. So, in the results I got, lots of people had high values down here and very low values down here. So in general, they are more the reserved people, internal. But there's a good mix, and they tended. This was the interesting bit. The ones who had high and D and high I tended to be very balanced across the D and I, and the same down here. Those who have high C and high S and low values up here tended to be very balanced across the C and the S, as in, or in the sense of, they can choose whether they are more people-oriented or more task-oriented or data-oriented, things-oriented. So let's have a look. If you are in that lower category and you have a higher C than a higher S, your job is to build or buy assets. And building assets would be your ideal job, is to do empire building. That's what you want to do. Take one system, of which you can take one, and just go out and do it over and over again. Right? You're not the kind of person who builds the system. You take an existing system and just implement the heck out of it. The other thing is, and I don't want you to neglect this or oversee this, is to buy assets. A lot of people don't do this. They go in and go, right, okay, I have to build everything myself. Think about how you can buy assets, build them up, and then sell them. That's where your leverage is. Recognizing where those things are. People down here are much more detail oriented in general. Up in the I quadrant, forget about detail, but down here, that's where a lot of attention is to detail. You can actually do the due diligence and figure out where real value is, when there's a gap between what the things are being sold for and what you can turn them into. A classic example would be go to page 2 of Google or page 3 and look what websites are hovering there for really good keywords, but they're not quite at the top. And you just go and approach 100 people, and maybe half of them, or maybe just 20% of them say, yeah, sure, I'll sell you my website for $100 or so. And because you have a great system which you know how to implement to do a bit of SEO, you can get that site very, very quickly up to page 1, and then you sell it, you flip it, or whatever, you monetize it in any way you like. The only thing is, I would say, do not try to perfect them. And I'm saying that, although you're very good at it, this is probably the greatest strength. People with high C and down here S, systems people or sort of introspective people, are very good at perfecting things, meaning they finish and finish and finish and finish, and as a result, they never finish. Now, I just told you the high I people never finish. Well, high I people never finish because they lose interest and they want to move to the next job. The high C people in particular never finish because, well, there's always something to perfect. And the golden rule of marketing, of growing a business, of internet marketing is 80% is good enough. So I just want you to be aware of this, because your natural inclination is to go and perfect these things. At the same time, although I'm telling you not to perfect them, it kind of goes hand in hand with this. The perfectionism quite often is from your perspective. You're going, right, in my opinion, it's the best thing to do this. You must be willing to test and to fail, of course. And that's, C people tend to be risk averse. They don't like risk. Now, it's kind of counterintuitive, but the best thing you can do to minimize your risk is to actually go and test, to see what works. And this is very, very unnatural for someone who is high C. High C people tend to look at the thing from their perspective and go, based on my experience, based on what I've researched, this would be the best thing. And I can tell you, there is no best thing on the internet. In marketing in general, you just have no idea what's going to work. I got some fantastic questions. I sent out an email a couple of days ago, no, yesterday, asking, what you need help with. And, some people said, hey, look, what's wrong or what's right with my website? And I can already tell you, I have absolutely no idea. I can give you some tips based on my experience, what you could improve. But at the end of the day, it's the target market that needs to decide what is working. And that is fundamental to this. If you're high S, if you're down here and you're sort of a person who likes to perfect things, although it's counterintuitive, you must be willing to basically be imperfect, because the only perfection you're going to get is through the market. And then, final recommendation, build one system, or find one system that works and start building as many as you can. If you don't have a perfect system, get someone with a high D to create the perfect system. And then, of course, use the S's or the S inside you to sell the heck out of it. Find joint venture partners and then sell. So you can almost be a product creator, but your job is not to come up with a new idea. Your job is to come up to do one of those in-depth research efforts, find out what really works, then do this horrible thing here, the testing, and take the help from a high D person and the help of a high S person to then leverage what you've kind of perfected there with the help of the other people. So this is more a leverage profile, if you like. You're not coming up with new ideas, your strength is somewhere else. So you can, overall you're building assets, whether it's, and then whether those you sell them or whatever you do with them, that's where your strength is. High S, all I can say is do JV deals. Okay, if you are a people person but you're sort of detail oriented, you can keep track of things. Like I said, I think in the first video, a lot of people struggle with the whole, a lot of high I people struggle with like time management, etc. And that is the great thing. That's a great strength of yours. You don't have that. When you focus on a job, you can do it. I mean, I had a VA who is in this category down here. She's an accountant by trade, which falls totally in the high C category. And when she sent me her reports, it's down to the minute. I kid you not, down to the minute. She actually has the discipline to follow through by the minute what she is doing every single minute of her day. I mean, of course, it uses some of her time, but I would get totally excited. A high I person would get totally excited by, wow, look, I've got this great tracking system. I just need to click this red button and then get started. And trust me, as a high I person, after about 10 minutes, you're bored with clicking the button. Just every time you do something new, you have to click the button and write in there what you're doing at the moment. Jesus. Down here, that is a great strength. So high S, JV deals. And if you're kind of in the middle, you connect the dots. You take your strength from the C side and go over to the high S side and do the JV deals. So overall, don't create products. Don't make it about you. Don't make it about creating products or being creative or any of this. No, your job is to perfect systems through testing. That would be the way, not perfecting them in your, just sitting there and perfect them until you are happy with it. Your job is to perfect things until they are perfect in the sense that the market likes it enough to hand over the money, and then you sell the heck out of it. Alrighty, there you go. Whenever you see a course, product creation 4 hours, it ain't for you. Alrighty, low I. That is, everyone who's got, pretty even profile. Now, quite a few. I was quite surprised. High combination, high sort of, or quite high values here, quite even, and very low I's. And all I can say is don't build authority sites that are about you. Don't build a brand centered around you. Okay. Sorry about that. Now, there's a very interesting point here, and that's the list building thing. Okay. In general, I hope you agree that if you've got some personality on your list, it's fantastic. I'm on so many lists where I have absolutely no idea who's behind that thing. They've never presented themselves. They've never talked to me. They've never even shown a picture of themselves. And I hope I've branded my picture enough so at least you know roughly what I look like. If you've got a low I, this is probably not for you. You don't want to build that personality type thing, at least not in the sense that you then have to do something you feel uncomfortable with. And I remember in the beginning, when I got started, I didn't have the confidence to go out and be totally authentic. I didn't have the track record of success to go, yeah, it's okay to be authentic. And I can tell you, you can be totally authentic, all right? If you're just totally you, and you're nerdy, and you're introverted, and you just have interest in really bizarre things, there will be enough people in the world who are interested in it. All I want to say here is, if you start building a list, be authentic. Be authentically low I. Don't be, hey, I'm super cool and check me out on this video. It'll come across as, being not authentic, as someone who's putting on a show. Be authentically you, which can be data oriented. Hello, I'm Data from Star Trek. You might find me very boring, and if you're high I, you probably find me very boring. However, there are enough people with high D and high D, high C, and high D, high C, high S, who will find you very, very interesting because they are data oriented themselves. Anyway. Do anything as long as it's not about you. That is the message for low I. So you can create products, but you could, for example, say I'm creating products for other people, or I'm just creating the product. Don't even brand it with my own name. I'm just creating this fantastic product. I'm the behind the scenes guy. You're probably better off setting up a company. Okay, this is the whatever Green Apples company. For example, what's his name? Steve Jobs. He was definitely high I. It was all about him. Total egomaniac. He was extremely high D, extremely high I. He probably had nothing of the other ones. He didn't have S or C. Behind the scenes, I think he was even, not knowing him at all. I hope it's not unfair to say, but I hear he was quite harsh and sometimes even a bastard to his employees. So definitely a high I and not very people-oriented, although to the outside, it was all about people. So there you go. So the good news with the low I is, once you've recognized that you shouldn't be building stuff around you and you have to be authentically nerdy, then you're more likely to follow through. And even what's better is, with a low I, you are highly likely, or much more likely than the high I people, to get truly passive residual income, because your strength is figuring out systems, creating systems, and implementing those systems and doing it repeatedly over and over again, and leveraging your introverted nature to go and broker some nice JV deals and then get it done. Low I, don't necessarily do webinars. Have other people do webinars for you. Alrighty, next one, and that's the last one, which is low D. So low D, everything else high. So these are people who are not very assertive. And once again, remember, this is not positive, it's not negative, it's just, your personality type is you don't like trampling over other people. You're not Steve Jobs. There you go. So, If you're low D, you're A, not very good at no, you're B, you're C, not very good at trampling over other people. A, you're unlikely to be great at systematizing. Alrighty, get someone else to do it for you. Leverage other people's talent. You're unlikely to be great at running a company. A lot of people go into internet marketing to make some money online, to make a little bit of extra money. But really, if you want to make proper money, not like sitting at home in your pajamas and scratch your bum, then you're going to have to set up a company at some point. Employ people, whether it's in your office or virtual assistants. It doesn't really matter. And if you're low D, you're very unlikely to get to that point if you try to run that company. There was a great piece of research in Harvard Business Review where they looked at, I think it was power or money was the idea. Can you have power and money? And their research found that 99% of companies who try to go for power and money will ultimately have no power and no money. And there is only really a handful of people who manage to pull it off. Like, for example, Bill Gates. He's got a ton of money and he's got a lot of power. But ultimately, you're going to have to decide whether it's about, is this your baby? Or you're going to go, hey, I'm actually in this to make money. And if that's what's going on, you employ someone to run the company for you. That's what venture capitalists look for. If they think you're a fantastic person at inventing products, but you're probably rubbish at running a company, they want to see in your business plan that you've thought of this and you're getting a team in place that will run the company for you. Think, for example, Ryan Deiss. Ryan Deiss is an introverted person. He doesn't like trampling over other people. He said this himself. So he's employed, and I've forgotten her name. The lady who ran Agora Publishing, or part of Agora Publishing. Oh God, I forgot what it is. Anyway, she's responsible for growing companies very, very quickly. She is like the perfect CEO. I've seen her at a conference, and she said, she came in and said, "Do you really think I do my own laundry? Do you really think I go and do my own shopping?" And she's the kind of person who has no time for these little things. She's clearly high D. She wants to conquer the world. She wants to trample over other people who are in her way. And that's why Ryan has hired this lady. If only I could remember her name, but I'm sure someone will know. There you go. So that's the next thing. And then you're unlikely to be great at kicking butt. And that kicking butt can be in the form of asking for the sale. So if you don't have a high D, you're unlikely to go, right, it is time to click on that button now. And if you don't, I will jump through this Ethernet cable and go and kick your butt. So if that's you, go and find someone else to do it for you. Have someone else write a sales letter for you. By the way, sales letters, once again, you just don't know what's going to convert. You need to test, split test, split test, split test, split test, split test. Alrighty. I think that's it. There you go. That's the summary of the findings. Where are we? That will be my mobile phone. Alrighty, that was my son who wanted to know whether we're going to go and play football tonight because the sun is shining, and of course we are. There you go. Love the blackmail in the office. Do you want to go and play football? Alrighty, so there you go. These are the findings. Interesting that a lot of people have high D plus high I, and this is kind of even. I would say it's about a fifth each if I look at my results. Yeah, just had a look. It's pretty much 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. Very interesting. High D, high I, it's all about product creation in some form. High C in us is all about leveraging other people's products, making them, implementing the system, researching, spotting the gaps in the market, connecting the dots, connecting product to consumer via, for example, joint venture deals and making money that way. Low I, creating pretty much anything that is not centered around you. Low D is creating anything that, or basically leveraging other people's stompiness to run businesses for you. And all even, you've got a winner there. You can basically choose flexibly what you want to do. And there you go. Alrighty, hope this helps. Now, what I'd like you to do is look at the business models you've pursued so far. I've got a whole list here, right? I've got a list of about 20 ways of making money online. And I was gonna stick that in here and say, look, if you're high D plus high I, look at this. What I'd like you to do is go out and look at the list of things you've tried, and now, in light of what I've just told you, tell me whether you've been doing the right things automatically or whether you had a flashlight come on and go, ooh, that might explain why I'm not successful with this particular model. So write down, what you've done and why you think it was the right thing or maybe it was the wrong thing, and what you're going to focus on instead now. And then I'm going to put out that third piece where I'm going to show you these sort of 20 different ways of making money online and how they tie in with all of these. Alrighty.